reception matters quite a bit. And so if you can find teams that have a really high estimated pass percentage, it means you're going to find wide receivers who are going to get a lot of catches, and we can find some under the radar picks. So I'm actually going to start out with some not under the radar picks, some pretty chalky picks, but I just want to point this out because it just goes to show how good these picks really are. So the first one I'm going to start off is New England, who has an estimated pass share about 68%, which is not surprising. They pass it quite a bit, and are obviously a great pick for DraftKings. Their receivers just seem like very great plays. This goes for guys like Danny Amendola, who looks like he's going to be back. It's only 4,700, and as we've seen with Julian Edelman out, he can catch quite a few balls. So obviously he's probably a guy who's way on your radar, and it should even be more so facing the Philadelphia Eagles. Same goes with Brandon LaFell. I think he's had a couple tough matchups the last 2 weeks, especially against Denver in Week 12. But against Philly, who's a bad pass defense anyway, I think he gets a lot more receptions in this game and has quite a good game. And then the last one, obviously, is Scott Chandler, who just has a ridiculous $2,500 price on DraftKings and will likely catch 5, 6, maybe 7 balls. So I think all these guys are quite good. The next one is Pittsburgh. So they're 65% on the estimated pass share, which is also quite high. And they obviously seem like a good pick. I think people are on Antonio Brown quite a bit against Indy, but I also really like Martavis Bryant. He's had a good last couple of weeks, and he's a young player whose fantasy points per snap has been really, really high in his career, and I think that indicates that he's a really, really great wide receiver when given the opportunity. He's now playing a lot more snaps, and I expect him to have a great game against the Colts. And the last one is Miami, who has a pass share of 69% in the top 3, and they're facing a Baltimore team that's just really, really bad against the pass. Obviously, Jarvis Landry, who had a monster week last week, seems like a quality play here. And I also kind of like Devontae Parker, who's their young wide receiver. I think he was a top 15 pick in this draft. He's only 3,300, and he's kind of a boom or bust play. He has a pretty large ADOT. So I like him quite a bit. So those are the more chalky plays using this tool. But now I'm going to go down a little farther, and I'm going to throw in another tool that you're probably not familiar with, which is our projected opponent plays. And I'm going to put a link to an article that describes this tool well in the comments so you can read up on it. But simply what it does is it just projects how many plays an opponent is going to allow to their team. So, for example, we'll just read this straight up. Philadelphia is expected to, their opponent from week to week is expected to run 70 offensive plays. And this makes sense because they run a very fast-paced offense. But there's actually other factors that go into this and are why teams like the Giants, who actually don't run that fast-paced of offense, actually allow a lot of opponent plays. And the reason I'm pointing out the stat is because if a team is going to get a lot of plays and also pass a lot, that basically means that their receivers are going to get a lot of receptions. A perfect example of this was Jarvis Landry last week, because with Landry, he ended up having a career game with 13 receptions, and it was mostly due actually to the fact that Ryan Tannehill threw, 58 times. So basically, when we're looking at receivers who are going to go off on DraftKings, we want teams who are going to get a lot of plays in and also throw a lot, okay? So I think this actually uncovers quite a few sleepers here, and I'm just going to go into that now. So one of those sleepers, in my opinion, is Tennessee. So their estimated pass share is 63%, which is not that high. It's on the higher side, I would say. But they do benefit from the fact that Jacksonville allows their opponents to get a lot of offensive plays in. And so I think Tennessee's receivers are a bit of a sleeper here. And, Delaney Walker is a popular play, but he could easily be the top tight end this week. I think that 7, 8, 9, or even 10 receptions is not out of the question in this matchup. And I also think Kendall Wright is a very deep sleeper, but but could have a good game here. He only played 50% of the snaps last week coming out of a knee injury. I expect that number to rise to 75%. I think he could be a really deep sleeper to pair with Marcus Mariota and could be really helpful in the Millionaire Maker. Another team that I like, or a team where a receiver I particularly like, is Baltimore. So they also have a 63% estimated pass percentage. Like Tennessee, they're both in the same area. But they're also facing a team in Miami whose opponents get a lot of plays in per game. So what that means is I actually like Baltimore's receivers quite a bit, and especially Kamar Aiken, who got 10 targets last week and had quite a good game. And Miami has not been a good match, or has been a very good matchup for number one wide receivers. They haven't defended number one wide receivers very well. I expect Baltimore to throw quite a bit in this game, and I think that he has quietly another solid game. He's actually been really great the last 4 weeks. And then the last one is a really, really deep sleeper, but I think this could actually pay off, is the New Orleans offense has a 67% pass share, and they're facing Carolina, who is a great defense, but they're actually a team that is bottom 8 in projected opponent plays. Their opponents actually run about 66 plays per game, which is similar to New England, Jacksonville, Miami, teams like that. And so I actually think a player that will fly really under the radar is Brandon Cooks. It's not like his price is that great, but he has a couple of things going for him. One is Willie Snead has not been practicing, and so he might not play, which I think is going to mean more targets for Cooks. And I just think Cooks is just not going to be used at all. I mean, he's coming off a bad game against Houston. Carolina has a really great number one corner. But I think with DraftKings, I could imagine Cooks actually getting quite a few receptions in this game. And if he does get that touchdown, I could see him having a 20-plus point game, even a 30-plus point game. Obviously, that's not likely, but I do think he's actually a really, really awesome sleeper this week. Someone you could put in a few of your lineups, and I think he's going to probably get 1-2% ownership, not very high at all. So he's a guy that I think you could put in your lineups, and it could pay off big time. So that's how I sort of use these two tools on daily fantasy winners to make some advanced picks, some sleeper picks. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please please subscribe, please comment, ask questions, interact with us. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good time making your lineups, and good luck.